We have some breaking news. The Toronto Blue Jays have made their final trade of the trade deadline, and it is a big one. They have acquired a couple of key players, including one reliever in particular that is very interesting. But as the clock struck 6 p.m. Eastern, trades were flying in, and the Jays ultimately got a deal done. We're going to break down exactly what that trade is and, of course, discuss what it means going forward as the trade deadline has officially passed us. And a lot of teams made moves, including the Yankees. So stay tuned to the end of the video, folks. Before we get it all, your guys' support has been unbelievable this entire day, this entire year. If you want to continue supporting, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Over 70% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed. You guys are absolute beasts. And I'm curious to see what you guys think about this deadline. I'm sure some of you are upset. Some of you feel good. I'm going to kind of put it in my perspective here, but let's start with the move that happened minutes ago. The Blue Jays have acquired Luis Varland and Ty France from the Twins per source. So what was basically happening here in the last minute, this trade didn't happen until a couple minutes after the deadline. Of course, as always, things trickle in. Ben Nicholson-Smith has since confirmed this is the last move they're going to be doing. They were involved in multiple talks. They were trying to get Joe Ryan. They were trying to get Griffin Jax, Stephen Kwan. And of course, for Griffin Jax, he ended up going to the Tampa Bay Rays in a very interesting move. But folks, in this deal, fan favorite Alan Rodin is gone, but they have acquired Luis Varland and Ty France. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Varland, you're going to want to stay tuned for this video because he is a very, very good pitcher. And the two players they got rid of is Alan Rodin and Kendrys Rojas. And Kendrys Rojas recently got promoted to AAA. He was the Jays' number 5 prospect, I believe. We'll dive into that later. And of course, Alan Rodin, who ultimately was logjammed. It makes a lot of sense to get rid of him. But they decided to keep a lot of their guys. They got rid of Will Wagner. They kept Joey Loperfido. They kept, a lot of their top prospects. And they didn't necessarily go all in per se, but I don't think that's a bad thing. And I'll explain why here. But regarding Luis Varland, let's start with Varland, then we'll go into Ty France, and then we'll dive into kind of the Jays prospect list. So if you're unfamiliar, Luis Varland is big velocity, lots of ground balls, doesn't walk anyone, and he is controllable through 2030. Yes, 2030, which means, they have him for like 5 more years. This is a fantastic trade. Is it the big headliner, huge name that fans wanted? No, it's not. But what it is a bullpen guy that is really good to elite. Like this season, he's been elite. Now, you look at last year, a little bit scary. 7.61 ERA in 16 games. Year before, 4.63 ERA in 17 games. This is really the first year where you got somebody who, or first year where you're getting elite production from him. That's the scary part. But let's focus on the present. 2.02 ERA, one of the lowest ERAs in baseball. He can touch 100 miles an hour. He averages 97.9. The two relievers they got in Sir Anthony Dominguez and Luis Varland are the fastest throwers on this team by a lot. Sir Anthony hovering around 98, and of course, Luis Varland hovering around 98. He has an elite ground ball percentage, and you add him to the back of this bullpen, and you hope Jimmy Garcia can come back healthy. You hope they can get a lot of other guys. I love it. I really like the move. And relievers are so volatile that you can't really look at previous years. And I was talking about that earlier today. Like Bednar had a horrible year last year, was great this year. Yes, Luis Varland in theory could have a great year this year and be bad next year. The Jays are focused on this season, and he's been one of the best relievers in baseball this season. A 2.02 ERA, a 1.8 BWAR. I absolutely love the move. And again, he's not the flashy name, but he gets a ton of ground balls. He throws absolute gas, and forever, Jays fans wanted a reliever who throws gas. Guess what? He throws absolute heat, gets a ton of ground balls, and it can be in the back end of the bullpen. Sir Anthony Dominguez, Luis Varland, Jimmy Garcia when healthy, Jeff Hoffman, Brendan Little, Yuriel Rodriguez. They are deep. They have one of the best bullpens in the American League. But the Yankees also got Duvall. The Yankees got Jake Bird. The Yankees got David Bednar. They improved their bullpen more than the Jays. Could argue at a better deadline than the Jays. But the Jays also get Ty France. Now, Ty France is an interesting one. Interesting because he hits, I think, does most of his damage against righties to a degree here. I'm assuming this is just a more veteran power bat they wanted to have, off the bench. But even then, he hasn't been that crazy with the power bat. But very good defensive first baseman regarding outs above average. This one is weird to me. I think this may have just been a throw-in. We'll see what happens with Ty France. He has power at times. A 677 OPS. Like what happens with David Schneider? They're obviously keeping him on the team. Will they, make roster spots? A lot of interesting things, and we're gonna have tons of videos into tomorrow morning covering that and stuff of that nature. But the Ty France part is a little bit intriguing. I don't know exactly where he's gonna go. Can't really play anywhere but first base and DH. So it is very intriguing to me. I don't necessarily. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on the Ty France part. He can mash at the very least, which is very interesting. And the bad news is, like, if you're going to take anything out of this trade deadline, the Yankees got way better. They didn't have to give up very much at all, and that's the scary part, is the New York Yankees. But we'll stick from the Jays' point of view here. They gave up Kendrys Rojas, who his ETA was next year. He just got promoted to AAA. He's a lefty. He's only 22. Don't love giving him up, but you look at some of the other teams, like there was rumblings about Yahoo even tweeted it, and MLB on Fox tweeted. The Fox basically just tweeted how the Red Sox had Joe Ryan. And they got basically Ohtani when we got planed by John Morosi. Clearly, the price for some of these starting pitchers and the elite players was very, very high. The Jays, there were some rumblings there for Stephen Kwan at the end. Griffin Jacks got traded for Taj Bradley, a very high upside starter who was elite last year, or elite in his rookie year. The Jays gave up the number 5 prospect, who's very good and has a ton of upside, but they kept almost everybody else, right? They kept Johnny King, Gage Stanford, all these different guys. I'm not super upset about it. They kept most of their prospects that were good, and clearly I think Ross Atkins would have went out and made a blockbuster trade had it become available. They tried to get Johan Duran. It ultimately didn't work, right? They didn't go out and get Johan Duran. They got outbid by the Phillies, or they were unwilling to give up Argent or Trey Savage, which kind of counteracts what I just said. I think the Phillies preferred, or rather the Twins preferred the Phillies package. They still got to work with the Twins for a guy in Luis Varland, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not upset about getting rid of a guy like Kendrys Rojas. Yes, he's really good. Yes, he's fairly close. You have so many pitching prospects. Johnny King is elite. Gage Stanford's been fantastic. You keep your best one in Trey Savage. Ricky Tiedemann going to be coming back. Tommy John soon. Jake Bloss, hopefully, once his UCL gets fixed up. I don't hate the thing. And, of course, for Alan Roden, he's gone. Looked really good for a while. Has looked good at times in the really good in the minors. Hasn't really translated to the big leagues. This could be one we look back at, in a few years and be like, wow, this one got away from the Jays. But you have to win now, and you have to give up prospects to do that. And I'd rather the Jays go out and try to win this season when you're 3.5 games up in the AL East than, hold on to their prospects. You saw the Yankees make moves. The Jays had to. They ultimately had to, and they paid a steep price for it. But you really don't have another choice. And again, it's going to be very interesting to see. Here are Kendrys Rojas stats as well. Has been fairly good. Again, they're selling high on a lot of these guys, which I really like. And at the end of the day, you're getting Luis Varland, who, again, piles ground balls up. Decent ability to chase. Of course, again, isn't a free agent until 2030. You get a reliever with control. You have to give up guys with control, but curious to see what Ross Atkins says about it. I'm also curious, leave down below your grade on this trade deadline. I would give it a B. No blockbuster moves happened, like Jacob deGrom wasn't traded, Joe Ryan wasn't traded, things like that. I think it's a fine deadline. You get 2 bullpen arms that are very, very good. You get a starter. Let's not forget about, Shane Bieber with a really high upside. I think, and something else to note here, Shane Bieber was the, acquisition of the deadline regarding starting pitchers. There was not a starting pitcher who was better than Shane Bieber that was traded. You can see here the Jays did exactly what they needed to, and no more. More would have been nice, but a starting pitcher, 2 leverage relievers, and a right-handed bench bat. They're riding with the guys that got them there for the most part. Prove them right. Keep Loperfido, all these guys. Shane Bieber was the best one of the best starter that was traded. Sandy Alcantara, they kept him. You kept Joe Ryan. You kept a lot of Jacob deGrom. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But folks, the trade talks are over. The Jays got the deal done. And let me know down below what your thoughts are on all of this. Love Varland, fantastic move. Love Sir Anthony Dominguez. Love Shane Bieber. France is an interesting one. He's a pending UFA, and it's going to be interesting. The organization's going to miss those prospects, but you got to pay to get these players, and now we go. World Series hopefully on the way. Starts the big game against the Royals tomorrow. Cheers.